the idea of women and gender roles comes from two perspectives. It comes first from colonialism, and then it comes from religion. Now, if you look at the Christian religion, for example, you remember the issue of the woman caught in adultery. For the act of adultery to occur, you need two people. You need a man and a woman. But only the woman was brought to Jesus, meaning that there was a perception within religious circles that in any sexual impropriety, the woman was to blame. Now, this is carried on in Kenya in various forms. For example, men will say that she wore a short skirt, she was asking for it, or she came to my house late, so she was asking for it. So the objectification of women and the victimization of women stems from the belief that women are the ones who tempt men versus men are the ones who are tempted. So that's a religious side. So on the religious side of things, you see quite a lot of the time what happens is women are the ones to adjust to accommodate men. So women will be told in church, don't stumble the brothers, wear longer skirts. And we don't realize that the implication of that is if that brother then continues to have sex with the woman, he will naturally blame the woman because of being tempted instead of falling for temptation. So the guilt of the man is taken away because religion has always counted that it is the woman's job to hide her body. Okay, so that's one. Two, colonization. Again, when we inherited Victorian England thinking, we adopted Victorian English traditions, which is why you will find in Africa, most of the tribes, if you look at all our pictures before 1900, 1910, 1920, we were all naked. No one had a problem with the female form. But the British came and taught us that it is African to cover up. Okay, and therefore it became shameful for a woman to show her body. Okay, in fact, if you look at the United States today, there is the argument of whether a woman can breastfeed in public or not. That's a silly question, because can children be hungry in public or not? Because the issue of breastfeeding is not instituted by the woman, it's instituted by the baby, who's then hungry. So it is those perceptions in society that then permeated our society. The idea has always been in Kenya that men are reckless. You cannot trust a man. Therefore, it is the job of the woman to make sure the man does not do what he wants. So boys are allowed to be reckless. Okay, if you look at most traditional circumcision ceremonies, you will hear the boy being told, oh, now the world is yours, you can do whatever you can. But the girl, what is she told at the same time? Cross your legs, hide yourself, because men are unruly animals that cannot be controlled. So you find that when a man and woman have sex, the woman has more shame because the man is supposed to be a randy cow gallivanting all over, but the woman is supposed to be the custodian of morality, which is an unfair scale to put on a woman. Okay, rapes go unreported in this country for the very simple reason that a woman, like for reasons I've explained before, feels like it's her fault. Okay, so if she gets raped in town and it's 9 p.m, why were you walking alone in the dark? If she gets raped coming out of the club, why did you go to the club? If she goes and has a drink and her drink is spiked, why were you careless with your drink? It's never the fault of the raper, you know, the rapist. You know, it is the rapee, in quotes, is always the ones who carries the brunt. And that's because of the traditions I've talked about before. So the effect of that is that crime goes unreported, and then bad behavior in male predatory behavior continues because the predator is hardly ever punished for his predatory activities. You see, so the woman carries the double shame of having lost her dignity to an undignified situation, and then two, she can't face society because society in turn blames her for it. You know, you showed your cleavage, you walked around late, and things like that. So the net effect is that sexual crimes and gender-based crimes go unreported, and the woman becomes the double victim of being the victim of the rapist and then being the victim of society, which then mistreats her. Now, when you begin to have an open conversations, then men can begin to be taught as to where the lines are. What is it to be given a yes? What is it to be told no? And women can also get to the point where the woman can be the instigator of sex, because then she will not be shamed for having normal desires, because the traditional thinking is that women don't want sex and men want sex, and women should always keep away from sex and men should always. That's not how it goes, because if you were to apply that rule, then men would never have sex and women will be the most celibate people. But we know we both need to interact and have normal sexual human relations, because that's what they are. And then when it comes to the normal space, then you have normal rules of courtesy. Like, for example, since eating is normal, you know, when you get on a table, you don't eat with your mouth open and you do not grab your neighbor's food without their permission. We know how courtesy works. You understand? You don't go to a hotel and start eating off your neighbor's plate. Similarly, when sex becomes a normal thing that we as Kenyans accept happens, and are not, you know, we are not enthused by it, that we all run into a lodging to see someone who's been caught by the wife or husband, because it's normal. So then when we stop sensitizing it like that, then we can have normal conversations about sex. And when we have normal conversations about sex, then we will be able to call out what is abnormal by way of calling out abuse, by calling out rape, by calling out people who take advantage of women.